Good evening and welcome to Tamlesar Productions LLC featuring Leez Feed, our new podcast and talk show program featuring your one and only Lee Coleman. I'm here today because April the 2nd, 2019, there's going to be a very important election in East St. Louis, and they're going to be electing the mayor and other elected officials. But tonight we're going to talk to one of the mayoral candidates, a young man that I've been known for quite some time. I think I interviewed him maybe back in 2006 or 2007 when he ran for city council. We have in our presence tonight Mr. Robert Easton III. He's running for mayor, and we'd like to welcome you aboard, Mr. Easton.
Thank you.
Been a long time. How you been doing?
Been doing well. You know, I put on a few pounds.
You put on a few pounds since then? We got to pull those tapes up. We got to see before and after.
I want to do that.
Okay, so I know you've been around for quite a bit in politics. How long have you been a city council member?
Well, city council member, again, like you said, I ran and won in 2007 to 2010. I lost my bid for re-election in 2011. But then 2 years after that, 2013, I came back and won my election again. So I sat 4 years and I won the third term, which was in 2017.
Okay. Well, tell the people a little bit about yourself. Some people may not know you as well as I do.
Well,
who is Robert Easton III?
Robert Easton III. Well, Robert Easton.
Project your voice a little bit.
Okay.
Pump it up a little bit.
Well, Robert Easton III. I'm a family man. You know, I'm a widower. My wife passed away October 2016 from breast cancer. You know, I'm a father. I'm a grandfather now. I'm a Navy vet. I'm a proud member of the Lincoln Tiger alumni. East St. Louis, the only school that really matters. You know, again, like I said, I'm a former business owner. I used to own a business in Washington Park, the BP gas station right there on the corner of 1205 Kings Highway. Owned that from 2011 to 2017. Activist. You know, I'm a member of the, and this may tickle you a little bit. You remember Pro 8? Pro 8 with Clyde Jordan and all those guys. They had this Pro 8 Civic Club.
No, I don't remember that.
You don't remember that with Clyde Jordan and Raymond Kaysen? They had.
I remember Raymond Kaysen. Is he still with us?
He's still with us.
Okay.
So they had a social club called the Pro 8, where it was for black folks that, you know, that during that time they didn't have a place to go socialize. You know, it's for the creme of the creme and the upper echelon of East St. Louis. So I'm the vice chair of that. Reggie Riddle was the chair. We reenacted that.
Okay.
You know, so I've started a mentoring group, mentoring young minds. You know, I offer some things that I derive from things as I've been a counselor and things.
But that's just the mentoring program. They're just for young men and women.
It's just for young men. The goal is we mentor. The goal is to mentor third grade boys.
Right. That's where it happens, right?
That's where it happens.
Right.
We want to start at the base. Third grade boys. We want to, and one of our schools of choice that we're trying to really get started on is at Officer School right there in the middle of the city. I have a group of dynamic guys that's helping me out. We're always looking for more volunteers, so if anybody wants to help, they can always contact me. And my office is 618-442-6670.
Say that number again.
618-482-6670. That's the number to the council office. You know, so we can get more volunteers to help these young guys, because, you know, we want to make sure that, you know, we're more active as men in our community.
So what are some of the things you mentored those young men?
Well, you know, like I said, we're just really getting started. So one of the goals is we just want to have exposure. You know, I have one of my friends. He's a radio guy. You know, he works at 100.3 The Beat. We have photographers. We have former military guys that retired at the Air Force. We have guys that, you know, like my nephew. You know, we even have kids that's going to help us. Like one of my nephews, he's an avid chess player. So he wants to bring in, you know, we want to expose these kids to chess. We want to pose them to proper etiquette, sports, you know, complexes. You know, we have people that are DJs. We have people that a whole gamut of things, you know, from every man from all different sectors, carpenters, you know.
That's right. That's right.
Because we just want to expose them and let them know how to conduct themselves on all levels.
Okay, I got a deal for you.
Okay.
Get us a couple of young men who may want to get involved in broadcasting, and we could mentor them here.
That's excellent. I'm gonna hold you to that.
You hold me to that. We like to see young men because they have to be able to articulate.
Exactly.
One thing a lot of black kids don't do, even though they have the ability, is hidden.
Right.
But articulation is so important.
Right.
Yeah.
And about exposure.
But exposure too.
If they don't know, and they're not exposed to things, how do they know if they like it?
Absolutely.
So we want to broaden these kids' spectrums, especially East St. Louis. I'm a product of East St. Louis. I like to say that I'm East St. Louis, born, bred, and fed. I'm proud to be from East St. Louis.
Because the third grade is a good thing, because we find out that black boys are competitive with black girls up to the third grade. After that, the black boys fall way off, and our girls continue to excel,
exactly.
but our boys don't. So there's a lot of reason behind that. So politics. What is your thought about what a politician is? What is a politician to you?
Well,
what's the duty? What is the duty of a politician?
Well,
because it's a negative term in a lot of people's psyche. So
exactly, I would like to coin a politician as being a problem solver. First, people serving second, and actually in the third, it's a combination of the two. I think that politicians, should be able, you're elected to do a duty, you're elected to do a job, so that you can be the best for who and whomever you your community that you support or that supports you. I think that you as a politician, you take the policies and procedures that's already on the books, right, and try to implement them if they're good policies and procedures. If not, then you change them. We have our commander-in-chief right now. He is showing us what a politician is not. So you want to be everything the opposite of him. He's not solving problems; he's creating them. I think we want to make sure that we're leaders in the community.
To whom are you referring?
I'm referring to our commander-in-chief. 45, President Trump.
Oh, okay.
So I believe that we want to be different from him. The total other end of the spectrum. Like I said, he's creating problems. We want to solve problems. How can you get in there and work for the people, work for the constituency? How can you get in there and do the things that need to be done, so that when you look back upon it, you say, hey, I helped fix that problem. I didn't create it. I think those forefathers before us, like Dr. Martin Luther King and those and such, those are the visions that they had, that politicians are supposed to solve problems, community problems, stuff like that.
So what is the role of the citizens? I know politicians are elected by the citizens, so once they elect the officials, what is the citizens' role? What would you like to?
Well, the citizens, they're our bosses. We all, most of us have worked for different people. They're your bosses, and they have an expectation. And when you run on the platform, or you run and you go introduce myself, hey, how you doing, Mr. Coleman? My name is Robert Easton. I'm here to garner your support. And Mr. Coleman is going to tell me what he's looking for Robert Easton to do. And I'm supposed to take the suggestions or the demands of Mr. Coleman or Mr. Coleman's household, and take in consideration and try to implement those things and try to fight for those things. It's not about Robert Eastern, it's about the masses. So to your question, the citizens are our bosses, and we work for them. They don't work for us, and we're supposed to do everything we can wholeheartedly to please them.
So what do you do? Okay, you've got the mandate from the citizens. Now you've got a council. So how do you implement, or how do you take that message from the citizens and get the council who's diverse in all ways and means? They're different people with different agendas. So how do you get to the table and work with your other 4 council members?
Well, like I said, it's a finite line, to be able to balance the governmental and the political apparatus. That's a finite line. I think that you just be all cards on the table. Hey, look, I'm getting these questions, I'm getting these demands from my constituency, and we need to start looking into this stuff, because they say the squeaky wheel gets the oil. So if you get enough squeaking, I think that needs to garner some type of attention. Now the problem that we have here of late, that sometimes that squeaky wheel, you know, is not getting the oil. You may have an oil gun, but the oil gun is empty, you know. So we need to make sure we find the right lubrication, you know, to put into that wheel to keep those things turning. You know, as I said, you know, we're not getting it done.
Why aren't you getting it done? Why?
Well, quite honestly, you know, people have different mythologies. You know, people, you know, they have different views on different stuff. So I think that, you know, people lost focus. Mm-hmm. I think they feel that we're the bosses, and the people, or not the bosses. But that's the other way around. You know, there are consumers. There are, you know, when I have my business, you know, one thing I pride myself on customer service. You know, my citizens are our customers. They're our bosses. You have to listen to them. Mm-hmm. That's why you're here. You're just the mouthpiece of the body. You know, it's not a dictatorship. This is not a communist environment. You know, you have to listen to the hearts of the people.
Now, one of the things I want to talk to you about, in addition to other things that we've already talked about, is the form of government that we're under right now. When I worked at City Hall and a call officer for 10 years, and from 1979 to 1989, we had the automatic form of government where you had wards, and the mayor had executive and veto powers. Now you're under the council management form of government. So how do you, which one do you like the most?
Well, as you know, I'm running for mayor. So anybody that will run for mayor or seek that office will want to have the total vetoing power and such. But I am, you know, the type of person where it's not about Robert Easton, it's about what's best for the city. And I believe that the form of government that's best for the city is the city manager form of government, because there's a check and balance with the council. And it goes back to your question, you know, how do you get the council to hear the voices of the people? You know, if you have the wrong mayor that's in charge and they're not listening to the voice of the people, then they can do what they want to do. We gotta have that check and balance until we can get that utopia of a council that can really work together and hear the voice of the people. You know, I think the city manager is the best form of government. I understand that, you know, well, the mayor makes this and the city manager makes that. Well, I think the council, we need to take a pay cut, especially in these financial crises that we have. I mean, you're supposed to lead by example. Attitude reflects leadership.
Okay. So you're running for mayor. The election is in April.
That's correct.
It's on the 2nd of April. So why are you running for mayor? What do you think the role of the mayor is?
Well, again, you know, the role of the mayor is in this form of government, you know, they say it's pretty much superficial. They say, you know, it's a ribbon cutting type of thing. But in our today's climate in East St. Louis, we have to roll up our sleeves. You know, we don't run a day-to-day operation as a mayor. You know, I'm here to assist, you know, the city and the city manager into making and to getting good ideas and trying to bring this thing around the corner. You know, because right now we're a stagnant place. You know, you can look at East St. Louis. There's nothing being done. There hasn't been anything done. There's no new development. There's no new jobs. There's nothing new. There's no new creation. There's a lot of unders. We're undermanned, underachieved, and underserviced. You know, so we have to do better. I'm running for mayor because, you know, like my slogan said, I have a heart for the people and I have a passion for change. You know, everything that comes from the heart, we should reach the heart. You know, it's not about Robert Easton. It's not about, you know, me being the mayor. It's about me doing a job for the city. As I drive through East St. Louis, my heart is broken. You know, it's broken. I mean, to come from when I was a kid to present, you know, and you know, there's nothing there to be really happy about. You know, I'm not a gloom and doom type of person. I'm just looking at the reality. Now, you know, one thing I do understand that since we are here, there's nowhere to go but up. You just got to have the right leader and right leadership to implement the things that's already on the books, you know, and do the things that we already have in place. I mean, and try to be welcoming to, you know, outside people and say, hey, East St. Louis is open for business. You know, take those things that we do have at our fingertips and try to enhance them.
So you're running because those things are not getting done. So what would you do differently?
Well, like I said, you know, it's about implementation. Case in point, you know, we do have a marijuana growth forum here in East St. Louis. You know, we've been saying
for the past 4 years where we don't have any revenue, but we don't levy a tax on someone that's making good money and making good profit. How do you not tax this place? But you can tax the citizens. State of Illinois allows a 7% tax on every ounce of marijuana that's sold from every grow form in the state of Illinois. The state of Illinois right now, I believe, have $32 million sitting in the coffers right now for just this year alone out of the 9 to 12 grow forms in the state of Illinois. That money is set aside and put in a separate account for medicinal marijuana. It doesn't even come downstate. But here we have one in our city of East St. Louis. It's been there for 4 years. Then grows $15 million plus, and we have not received one tax dollar off that.
Why is that?
Because the administration is in place now, does not have the foresight, does not have the mental fortitude, they're not grabbing at all the straws. You need to grab at all the straws, And if you have this,
why would anybody do that? I don't understand that. If the opportunities are there.
I've stated these things, and I'm the kind of person, I get it all the time. Bob, you need to jump up on the desk, and argue. I kind of state my points. I put it in writing, and I'm not the kind of person that believes in Donkey Kong at the desk, as the kids say. I believe that if you have a person that's been there as long as I have or longer, they should know who's in the city as well. There's certain things that once you bring them to the attention, the light bulb should go off. But if the administration and the powers that be, the current mayor and the current councilman, like Councilman Mosley, they don't understand, they don't see this, then they don't need to be there. So that's why I'm running. That's why I have my team of people around me. So we can implement this new thing, and we can take the city in a new direction.
But like you were saying earlier, under this form of government, the mayor, they call it a titular head. So basically, the mayor is the chairman of the board of the city council. So separate yourself from your competition. You have Emeka Jackson, the present mayor, Robinson III, and now you've got Carl Edward Officer. So how would you be different?
Well, I'm unlike them, Carl, who I consider, a friend, does excellent work in the funeral home. He's buried a lot of my family, and I applaud him for his work as a businessman. But his leadership style is not what we need. When I look upon his tenure, as a young man, you see a young black man when you're a kid, you look up to him, So he was one of the people that was a young guy you looked up to. He's the youngest man, youngest mayor in the country. Is black and this, that, and the other, and you see those things. But when you listen deeper into the message that he's saying, he's not saying anything. And when I look at the track record, when you had 4 terms to do something, he could have did more for the city of East St. Louis than any mayor that has ever held.
Why do you say that?
Because he had more money, he had longevity. He had every form of government. He was a strong mayor for him. He had the vetoing power. He had everything. He had all the arsenals at his fingertips. He did not have the financial situations that we had. He could have did everything possible to make East St. Louis great, and he didn't. He failed us. He simply failed us.
So why do you think? I do agree with you because I was there. But why do you think?
I don't know if it's because immaturity. I don't know. I get it sitting here in these seats and stuff like that. Titles and such can go to an individual's head. I don't know if that's the reason. But leadership style, I'm sure that he had people around him in the beginning and the interim that was telling him the right things to do and such. Maybe he wasn't listening. I believe that if I'm elected mayor, I believe to surround myself around people, with people, that I'm not fearful and I'm not, insecure about them having the ability of more knowledge, or they just may be plain smarter than me. I think a good leader knows how to follow, and maybe these 2 people don't really know how to follow. In order to be a good leader, you have to know how to follow, because when you follow, you listen, you learn, you develop. And I've done that. I've listened, watched my father. I developed my leadership skills by by hearing the voices of people. I learned how to keep myself humble and, keep myself meek. Do not take my meekness for weakness, because when it's time to be a strong leader, I can do that as well.
What about Miss Jackson? It's Jackson Hicks. She's the current mayor now.
Again, Miss Jackson, nothing against her personally. I know she's a wonderful mother, a wonderful woman, but her leadership style right now is not what East St. Louis needs. As I just stated, she was the finance chair for 6 years of East St. Louis. She's been there just as long as I have, with no break. So she understands the things that needs to be done. It's about implementation. It's about having people that can work with you. She's the only mayor that I know, and I can be challenged on this, that under her tenure of 4 years, she has 4 personal assistants. 4 in 4 years that directly work with you, and they didn't get fired, they quit. So to me, that tells me that it's something missing the bar here. A leader, supposed to give everybody the information so we can all come to the table, so we can all make the best decisions for the city. I'm not, I understand that everybody has admirations to grow higher in the political realm and this, that, and the other. I get that, but if I'm elected mayor, I have 4 councilmen there. Give everybody information. If one of those people...
You mean people are not sharing information?
I don't know. People's not sharing it. Everybody's not getting the information adequately and timely as such as everyone else. So that causes strife.
Give me an example of something.
I gave you an example. The current financial situation with the pension. Some people that, we have the finance team that's there. I'm not getting the information like other councilmen that's on the council that's privy to. I have to pull legs and teeth and everything else just to get information out of the city manager. Here we are in a financial chaos, in a quagmire, whatever adjective you want to use to describe it. And I still have not heard from the city manager. If I don't call the city manager, I don't hear from her.
He is supposed to report to the city council.
To the council, but they don't report to this city councilman.
Anyone else besides you?
I'm assuming Councilman Charles Fowler III. So we're not getting the information, as such, unless we call them. And there's nothing wrong with calling. I'm not saying I'm above calling or reaching out to the city manager, but if you're the person that's in charge of the day-to-day operations of a city, and we're going down this path, and you are not sitting down and talking with your councilman on a regular basis saying, hey, we need to do this, X, Y, and Z, it can be weeks before I hear from her.
What about when it comes to a vote? He or she makes a recommendation for something, and he or she has not shared the information, and how can you vote?
How can you, exactly, how can you? So when I get my information, get my packet, I go through it, if I have questions, then I'll call. But you've been working on this document or this situation, if not for 1 month, at least 1 month, several months. So it seems like we should have some type of conversation prior to, but then when you get up and you ask questions and you're looked at as the bad guy only because you want the information. I have people I have to answer to. Like I said, we got 21,000 bosses in the city of East St. Louis, and I have to answer to them. And when I go to the store, when I go to McDonald's up the street from my house or wherever, and I bump into Mr. Jones or Mr. Smith, I have to answer these questions.
Let me ask you this. A lot of people are saying, well, under Ms. Jackson, you're seeing streets being repaired and redone, although because of the Black Year grants that maybe predated her
You're correct.
leadership.
We are getting streets dead. But if my memory serves me correctly, 4 years ago, I was the chairman of Public Works. So, and if my memory serves me correctly, I believe that we had a street and capital improvement plan then. And I believe that and these streets are just a residual of the plan.
This one from motor fuel
we got motor fuel,
Black grant.
we got motor fuel, we got TIF, and we got some streets that got done our community block grant.
Okay.
So it's a combination of it.
So what happens when those streets are repaired, these streets might have been in the hopper for years prior to
Right, years, exactly.
and then they get done,
Exactly.
and some area might inherit
Exactly. But
that gold mine.
we all inherited it because we all voted yes.
Right.
You know, I was talking with a citizen today, and same question came up. I said, anything that's for the good of the city, we always get 5 more votes. There has not been any real strife on the board where we really go 3-2 or 4-1 or anything like that, because it's been a very minute things that have came across. You know, some will argue, say we've been doing great things, you know, but how can you do great things when there's been council meetings or committee meetings that you cancel because there's nothing on the agenda?
Nothing on the agenda.
Nothing on the agenda. But you're doing great things. You know, there's statements saying that, well, you know, we got the housing authority back. Well, that was going to happen anyway. All we had to do through secession, you know, you've been long enough, you understand. Those things are going to happen anyway. But now that we have the housing authority back, what are we doing with it? How's that impacting the city? Are we doing the things in the housing authority to help those individuals that live in the housing authority?
What about the Title Section 3 plan? That's something that needs to be implemented because people in close proximity should be doing work when there's construction work or any kind of work.
Right.
We should be engaging the citizens. That's a federal law. So,
exactly.
So I don't know how well that's going.
Well, to my knowledge, it's not going as well as it should, and it's not going well as it can be. Okay. You know, as most things in East St. Louis. I mean, we have to make sure that East St. Louis is first. Even right now to that point, with the Section 3, meaning that if you're qualified, bona fide, and have all the credentials, you're supposed to be picked out of that area to do those jobs first, correct?
You should be a part of it. I mean, the prime contractor should hire you not only just for construction, but administrative stuff too.
Right, but you should get some of that.
You should get, absolutely. Nothing should go on without some of our people who are in close proximity to those.
So that means East St. Louis.
Right.
I'm just going to use that.
Right.
If it's in East St. Louis, it should be East St. Louis first.
Right. Absolutely.
Western Park, so on and so forth. Well, we don't even practice that same thing inside City Hall, because when you look at City Hall, we have more Missourians that work inside City Hall than Illinois. You know, but so they take our tax dollars across the river, and some of them do good work. That's not what I'm saying. But you mean to tell me, and it's been stated to me, there's no one qualified
in the city of St. Louis.
City of St. Louis. I take that as a personal slap in the face, because that means to say that anybody, my predecessors, my ancestors, and anybody that I know, you're saying that they're not qualified.
What are some of the positions these people are holding?
I'm talking about like TIF managers, city manager, community development persons and such.
They're not local.
They're not local people. No, I mean they may be formerly from East St. Louis, but they don't live in East St. Louis. But we need to hire people from East St. Louis first. Period. And that goes with the school board as well.
Right. So let me ask you a question. Some of the criticism on the present mayor, Ms. Jackson, is that she's not a full-time mayor. Now, in defense of her, she doesn't have to be, because it is a part-time job. But do you agree with the critique that she's not there enough?
Well, I mean, here of late...
And what would you do?
Here of late, she's been more there than the previous 3 years. I don't know if job situation has changed or whatever, but I know she's been in City Hall more of late. I don't know.
What about the 3 previous years?
Three previous years, you never saw her, except for maybe on one day a week or whatever. You never saw her. I mean, and this is not coming from Robert Houston. This is coming from citizens. They said that they could not get in touch with the mayor when they needed to get in touch with the mayor. I believe attitude reflects leadership. Mm-hmm. The mayor is, to your point, yes, it is a part-time and by definition, but not by desire and will and focus. You need to be there as much as you can, 9 to 5, and hell out to do to the city.
So what is your commitment to that scenario?
I believe, it's a 24-hour job. You're the mayor. You don't take it off. You get there, you're supposed to be there when City Hall open. in there when City Hall closes because of the financial and everything and all the work that needs to be done to be there.
Basically saying you need a full-time mayor.
You need to be a full-time mayor.
So you're a Democrat.
I am proud of it.
Why a Democrat as opposed to a Republican or an independent?
Well, I mean, I'm a Democrat, you know, I just, because just look at, I tell you this, give me, what has a Republican done for the city of East St. Louis? I'm not even going to talk about the state of Illinois. Name me one thing that a Republican has done for the city of East St. Louis. What can a Republican do for the city of East St. Louis? Nothing. I'm a Democrat, I'm proud of it. You know, I understand, you know, the plight of my people, you know, and I'm proud to be a Democrat, I'm proud to be East St. Louis, I'm proud to be a black man. So, you know, and these are things I understand the social injustice of our people, the socio-economical balance that we need to try to eradicate. I'm happy that we got a Governor Pritzker in office. You know, he and I have talked. You know, and he has assured me and others that he's coming downstate in the Metro East area to help do some things and help create jobs or help create a new East St. Louis, and I'm happy about that.
Okay, so call officer is running as a Republican. Okay, is he a Republican, and what is your thinking? Did he do that just to be on the ballot for the general election, or do you think he's a true Republican? What is his track record when it comes to his party affiliation?
Well, I mean, let the actions of a man's work speak for them.
Right.
So when I look at the actions of his work and the body of his work, he has exemplified and demonstrated that he's a Republican. You know, the antics, you know, he kind of mirrors that of our Commander-in-Chief, President 45, Donald Trump.
Wow.
You know, you know, I would have to put him in the same box as that.
If you are successful, what immediately would you do? What are your top 5 priorities, for instance, which you immediately get to work to get done in the city?
First of all, the first thing, we got to clean it up. You know, clean it up, police, safety, sit down with the few businesses that we have here in East St. Louis and have a consortium of sorts and figure out how can I get them to stay? What can I do to help you? Then look at, and all not it's not a then, all these things have to move simultaneously together. You know, take the development plans that we already have.
There is a comprehensive plan. I got a copy of it myself.
There's several comprehensive plans. We don't need another plan.
Are they pretty good plans?
They're excellent plans.
Why haven't we implemented those?
Again, there's attitude reflects leadership. All we have to do is take the plans off the shelf, blow the dust off of them, update those things that need to be updated, and start shopping around. Those things that we can do as a city, we need to take ownership and do them as a city. Okay. We don't have to wait. What am I saying? Buildings that we own, we have plans and it's supposed to be this, X, Y, and Z. Well, let's find out how can we just go ahead and start getting that cultivated and created and building inside that plan.
Would you hold the county, the state, and the federal government accountable for the things that naturally would come to the city that we have a right to have? You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, yes, because they have a real role. The last time I checked, the city of East St. Louis was in St. Clair County. Last time I checked, St. Clair County was inside the state of Illinois. The last time I checked, the state of Illinois was in part of the United States government. So all these people have a responsibility and an accountability to my city. And it's my job as the spokesman of the city to make sure that they adhere to giving us everything that we deserve and more.
One of the things that's been critical of local politicians in St. Louis for is that they did not forge a good relationship with those entities, the county, hold them accountable, state elected officials, because we do have Christopher Belt as our new state senator and LaTanya Greenwood as our rep. But what do we do to reach out beyond those two? I know they're on your side. I know they're trying to do things. So what do you do about, you know, like we got Kwame Raoul, he's the new Attorney General, and we've got these other elected officials who have to vote on measures along with our people to get things done. So I've never seen too many local officials out of East St. Louis forge an individual relationship with those guys also. So how important is that, if you agree?
Oh, that's you have to have those state, county, local, and federal agencies working in concert with you. But you have to have your plans together. You can't go up there stumbling and bumbling. You got to have a well thought out plan. You know, and we're not the only city in the state of Illinois, in the state of the county of St. Clair County, and in the city in the United States. So I understand. That's like you said. What are our top 5 priorities? These are our priorities. Can you help us with these priorities? And do not move.
Mm-hmm.
Don't change it in the middle of the stream. These are our priorities. This is what we need to do, and these are things we need you to help us get done. And once we have adhered to these top 5 priorities, then, you know, we can go to 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. I think sometimes you ask for very robust plans and a whole gamut of things that you know is not attainable. So you need to make sure you tailor-make it to the top 5 priorities, the things that help blossom or spark in St. Louis.
How would you improve public safety?
Well, make sure, you know, public safety needs to be, you know, first of all, you got to have the morale of those that are there, police and fire. You know, increase morale, first and foremost.
How would you do that?
Well, you know, ratifying their contracts, getting in the room with them, find out what they really want, find out what things that's really making them angry, the things that will not, you know, where we can get more out of them. You know, sometimes it's not always about money. You know, it's always not about money. Sometimes it's about a conversation. Sometimes people want to know, want you to hear them. They want to be heard. You know, and that you understand and you pay attention to them, and that you care about their needs and their family needs.
Mm-hmm. What about the East St. Louis Riverfront? We've seen some movement down there. So what's going on? And do we still have a stake in our own city's riverfront as elected officials and as citizens?
Yeah, we have a stake. I mean, it's still our riverfront. You know, we fumbled the ball again. You know, with the port project in the South Riverfront. You know, we broke ground. I was one of the keynote speakers when we broke ground on that in 2013. You know, and from 2013 to present, it's stagnated. It stopped. Now, that was a combination of things. That was because of our own inability to procure the things that we needed to do as far as making sure that project was on target. So, you know, we had to do a better job, be better stewards of when we have money at our disposal. Utilize the money. And I'm not saying that money was not utilized on the appropriate things. What I'm saying is that because we did not utilize the money and we didn't appropriate the money where it was when and in a lot of time, then the state put a freeze on it. And then when Ron got in, you know, then he took the money. So now we had to get the money, reappropriate it, and do those type of things. You know, how can you say we need money, we need money, we need money? When you get the money, you don't do nothing with the money. So it makes the person that gives you money look like, well, you don't really need it, so we need to take that back and put it there, give it to some other city that's on the ball doing what they got to do. Stop playing, attitude, flex, leadership, get off our butts, and let's do the work.
What about the Casino Queen? I heard they were trying to sell, change ownerships.
I'm not too familiar with that, but I heard something like that, and you know, it's just I look at it like it's no different from any other business that may want to sell a business, or, you know, people like I sold my business. You know, so sometimes it's a, you know, this is a business thing.
So what are we getting from them yearly now? It used to be $1 million when I was there way back. What is it now?
Well, the highest point has been $13 million. And where right now is about, I want to say about between $5.5 to $6 million.
We used to $1 million a year, now it's down to.
Yeah, it's down a lot
because of the business there. So, you know, I heard that Mayor Officer has stated that he wrote the legislation for the vote come to East St. Louis. Mm-hmm. So, what do you think of that concept?
I had to do my research more, but from my preliminary research, I'm finding out that it's a falsehood. Yeah. That did not happen. You know,
you can always fact check that, because right. I was always pondering how could a municipal leader write legislation for a state bill that comes out of the state. So I was always perplexed by that claim. Okay, time is running out, but going back to one of the things you talked about, that was economic development. Do we have an economic development director for the city at this stage?
We do not have a quote-unquote economic development director, but the city manager serves as such.
Okay. Do you think that would be a good thing to put together an economic development team? Maybe sometimes you didn't have to be volunteer. I know you used to have, when I was working with my parks, we had, an advisory team, which consisted of individuals with expertise in economic development that would sit back and sit down with the mayor to advise him. Here's the St. Clair County Black Chamber that we're putting together that would, that's all about business development. So would you be amenable to having an advisory team and having a group like the Black Chamber, St. Clair County Black Chamber, work with your administration to help try to accomplish some of those things that you say were missing economically, employment-wise?
I'm for anything that's going to help enhance East St. Louis, help me create jobs, help me create rooftops, and help me bring East St. Louis back into the new millennium where it deserves. So if those individuals and those type of structures or entities or interested in coming to East St. Louis to help, I welcome them.
Do you believe in East St. Louis first?
Always. Always East St. Louis.
What does that mean to you when somebody say East St. Louis first? And holistically, what does that mean to you?
It means East St. Louis first. It means you buy East St. Louis, you sell East St. Louis, you're from East St. Louis, you wear East St. Louis with pride. You educate in East St. Louis. Everything East St. Louis, I'm born, bred, and fed. East St. Louis first. We gotta help. How can I say that I'm gonna be the mayor of the city of East St. Louis and I don't take care of East St. Louisans first? When you have a home, you have children, correct?
Right.
So
old ones,
but you got them, right? But you got to make sure the kids and you got to make sure your household is taken care of before you take care of anything else.
Well, we're going to close this out, and we hope that you will come back to these beautiful surroundings here at Tamlesar Production LLC and be a guest of Leez Feed. We really appreciate you taking out your time to come. And we'll do this a few more times for the election. We're going to invite some other people to come down. Who's on your team?
On my
school
team.
board, right?
I have a school board. I'm excited about my team, man. I'm so excited about my team. First off is me running for mayor. I got Councilman Charles Powell III running for re-election of city council. Tommy Dancer, who's an older guy who's been around.
OG?
Yeah, he's an OG. But you need that balance there. You need that balance there. He's running for council. Deborah Hamilton Tidwell, who's running for city clerk, because Doreen Hoosman decided not to run. So I'm so excited about that. Charlotte Moore, and I always tease her. I said, we're just gonna change the name from Treasurer to Moore. So I'm excied about that. School board is Irma Galladay. I tease her the same thing. We're just gonna change her name, saying it from school board member to Galladay. So we have Miss Galladay. We have R.C. Clark, who's to Irma's testament has said he's been a rock back there, trying to help get the fortitude and fortify some of those things at the school board. A newcomer, Betty Jones Carr. She's out of Washington Park. She's a retired nurse and a minister, so we're excited about having her. Then we have James Montgomery, who's running for re-election on the park board. Then we have somebody on the ticket. The youngest person on the ticket is 28 years old, Mrs. Damon Smith. He's one of these young guys that has came up through the ranks through the Emerson Park school, Victor Forby. So I wanted to make sure when I developed a team that I had everything that from women to men, from young to old, from educated here to educated there, ministers and everything. So we have everything on this ticket. It's a smorgasbord of holistic of East St. Louis. I'm happy.
Okay. So we want to thank you for coming and to see what their thoughts are about being on your team and what are their plans for our city.
Okay.
Thank you, young man.
Thank you, man.
Okay. All right.